This is Kat Chancellor of Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I want to show you how to make this lovely Mother's Day card using the stamp set that's in the Occasions catalog right here. It's called the Tea Together stamp set. This stamp set is available in the Occasions catalog, which is available until 3 June. Gorgeous stamp set. We're going to use this, but we're going to use it with the framelits that come with this set as part of the celebrations. Now you have until 31 May or March in order to order under celebrations. That's when celebrations is over, by 31 March right here. So you get these with a $100 order. You can select this free. So we're going to use these framelits to put together this card. So you would need both the stamps and the framelits. You're also going to use the Big Shot Country Floral Dynamic Textured Embossing Folder. This is really gorgeous. It really comes out with a very, very dynamically textured, it's very deep texturizing embossing folder. You're going to need some Whisper White in order to do our stamping, and you can see I have all my blends here because we're going to do some coloring for the tea rose and also for our little teacup here. You're also going to need our base card, which is going to be just simply our regular card size of 5.5 by 4 1/4, and then we're going to layer the piece that we're going to use our embossing folder is 5 1/4 and 4. We are also going to layer a piece of vellum, and this is about 3 by 3. We're going to use a doily, and I will pull that out here shortly. I don't see it right in front of me. And we're using the 1 3/4 by 7/8 oval punch in order to cut out our Happy Mother's Day. And I have some other embellishments such as these pearls. I'm also using this wonderful ribbon, which is the variegated ribbon with, I believe the color that we're using is the petal pink. So this is really going to come off nicely on our card. So I think those are all the pieces and parts we're going to use, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and stamp our images so we can color them. So I just have a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and here's my stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. And I'm also going to have a block for this tea rose. And a block for this wonderful little rosebud. That's going to go there. There's also a very tiny little leaf, and we're gonna go ahead and do that one as well. And I think I have this one, but I think this will probably go better on that one, and I'm going to put my tiny little leaf on this one. Okay, so I have all my stamps on my blocks. The color that I'm using to stamp my images is going to be Sahara Sand. And I'm going to grab a piece of paper because we're going to use a stamp off technique. I want this to be very, very light. It's almost like a no lines image. So I'm just going to ink this up. I'm going to stamp and then stamp off, and there you go. That's the image I want. I'm using one flower, so I'm going to stamp off. I'm going to use 1 rosebud, stamp off, and I'm going to use 3 leaves, and I'm just going to go stamp off, stamp off, stamp off. So those are all the images that I'm going to use. Now I'm going to go ahead and get out my blending pens. The blending pens I'm going to use are going to be Petal Pink, Light and Dark for my flower. I'm using So Saffron, soft seafoam for my teacup and my leaves. And then I have some green, this is Granny Apple Green for accent. So let's go ahead and start out with my teacup. Take the white end of my blends, and I'm just going to go ahead and basically just put in some strokes there, some very light strokes along the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and color the bottom of this little dish here, and I'm just going to go ahead and very lightly kind of just add some color there. Okay, I'm now going to take my dark seafoam and I'm going to add, I can put some more. There we go. I'm going to add some dark right along the inside of my cup, right here. I'm going to add it on the bottom of my cup handle, like this. I'm going to put it right here along the bottom of this. I'm going to add it right along here as kind of shadow on either side of my cup, on my saucer. That was the word I was looking for. And then I'm just going to put it kind of lightly right here and kind of along the bottom of my cup. So now I'm going to go ahead and take my light seafoam and I'm going to use it to blend into my image. And I'm just blending along, kind of blending it into my image right there. This dark, and I want to use the dark again kind of along this edge. And there we go. That's the cup. It's as simple as the cup has to be. Next, we're going to take some of the soft seafoam and we're going to do the leaves. Just stroke it on the leaves. I'm going to go ahead and do these leaves here. And now I'm going to use the dark, and I'm just going to go ahead and stroke along the side of my leaf. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because remember, we're going to cut these out so we can have it. And with the flower, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Petal Pink, and I'm just going to kind of wash most of my flower with Petal Pink. I'm then going to take my dark Petal Pink, and I'm using my tip, and I want to go along kind of the inside of my petals. Rocky wants to go into the family room and join my husband, but he just had a little bit of an upset stomach, so I want him to stay in here with me, so that's why he's protesting right now. I'm going to take one of these petals in here and kind of darken it a little. I can go ahead and add more pigment into the inside. And you can kind of begin to see it's got a little bit of color. I'm going to take the light and I'm just going to kind of blend a little bit. It's really not that hard. I also like to take a little bit of my color lifter and this is kind of where I just want to take just a little bit where it is dark and just kind of put a little bit of the color lifter, and it's just going to kind of lift that color just a little bit. Finally, I'm going to take the light granny apple green. I'm going to take this sharp piece here, and I'm just going to kind of, all I'm going to do is kind of give this just a little bit of accent with my pen. And the first thing I want to do with this rosebud is I just want to kind of give it a little bit of color there. Again, whoops. Again, I'm going to wash this with the my petal pink. Just wash it with the petal pink. Then come in with the darker color. And I'm going to kind of put it on the top and on the bottom. So just focus on the bottom and then on the little rosebud on the top. That's where I want my color. Right there. And then I'm going to take a dark seafoam with the pen side. And I'm just going to kind of touch that up there. Okay, so there are our images, and now we're going to go ahead and match them up with our dies right here. And I have a die for my little rosebud. I have a die for my flower, and this set comes with 3 dies for our leaves. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this over to my Big Shot and cut these out. Okay, I just want to show you how perfectly these came out. Our rosebuds and our tea and all our little leaves right here. So these came out very, very nicely. So I'm going to take a sponge dauber and I'm going to take my Petal Pink ink pad and I'm just going to kind of sponge that up a little. And I'm just going to kind of sponge the edge of my rose. Like that. And you kind of see how that kind of gives it just a little bit more. And I'm just going to kind of sponge kind of the edge of my little rosebud there. So let's go ahead and put these away. And let's pop out this little piece in here. And we can see just how very nicely everything came out. So now let's go ahead and got everything on that piece of paper, and the next thing that I need to stamp would be, let me get a piece of cardstock. I'm going to take my Versamark and I'm going to stamp, because I'm going to emboss with gold my Happy Mother's Day. So I'm just going to kind of use my my tool here. Okay, so that's done nicely. So let me go ahead and take my, make sure that's dry, yep. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut that right like that. Okay, so we have that done. I've taken my cardstock and I've run my piece of soft sea foam. That's cut at 5 1/4 by 4. I've run this into my Big Shot. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this on my card base, but I want to use some tear tape along both ends since this is kind of a dynamic piece. I want to make sure that I get it to adhere completely. And I kind of like to have this with the rose kind of facing right here. Just going to go ahead and put this on my card. There you go. So now I'm going to take a piece of, this is a piece of vellum, and it's basically just going to be kind of a background. And this I have cut, it's about 3 by 2 1/2. It could be about 3 by 3, just to kind of give it a little bit of background. So I'm going to take this piece, and then I'm going to take some ribbon, and I want to take some ribbon probably around 12 inches long. Yep, it's about more like 14 inches long. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of lay this ribbon across like this. Okay, that's how that ribbon is going to go, laid across. So to do that, I'm going to grab a piece of tear tape. I'm going to put a piece of tear tape along the center of my vellum. We're going to pick this up, and then I'm going to, again, I'm just going to lay my vellum where I want to have it on my card. I'm going to take my first piece of ribbon. This is the end of my tear tape right there. You see that? So I'm going to lay my ribbon across that bottom part, and I'm going to bring it back across, and I'm going to lay it so that it hits the next piece of my tear tape there, and I'm going to bring it back up again. You can see my tear tape's right there. So I'm just laying this ribbon right along the middle of that tear tape piece, and I'm going to end right at where my tear tape ends. It's going to be right there. Okay, so here's my tear tape strip. I've just excuse me, I just laid my tear tape across that piece of vellum just like that. I'm going to take my doily, and there you have a couple of choices. This is these are the ones that are in the annual catalog. They're the pearlized doily. I happen to have these old lace doilies, and this is the one I'm going to use but you can use either. And I'm going to lay this lace doily is going to go right on top of my ribbon, right like that. I'm going to put my teacup on there first, because when I put my teacup on my doily, then I can kind of decide, I can then put adhesive all the way on the back and it will lay without it kind of poking through the top. So I kind of want this to go here, and I'm going to lay this, and then I want my teacup to go, it can either go in the middle or it can go a little bit to the right, however you want to place it. So I'm just going to take my teacup and I'm going to grab some snail, and I'm going to put some generous snail on the back of my teacup. Okay, and I'm going to position my doily, and then I'm going to lay my teacup kind of where I want it. And I'm going to basically put my saucer right there between my two ribbons, like that. Okay, so now that I have my teacup down, now I can turn this around, and I can be rather generous on the back with some snail to lay down on my ribbon, and I can put that right about there. Just make sure my ribbon is nice and flat. So there we go. I now have my teacup on my vellum, and it's ready to go on my card. But before I do that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to embellish our teacup with our flower. Now sometimes these don't cut closely enough, and I just like to go in and just do a little bit of extra trimming for those areas where there might be a little bit more paper than I really want to show. Like that. If you can see how I kind of trimmed that a little bit. I'm going to basically now put my teacup and my doily in place, and I'm going to use tear tape on this vellum. It disappears when you put it on the back of the vellum on your card. I'm also using it because it's the best type of adhesive for going on something with as much ridges as this embossing, this embossed paper. So, and we're going to, I'm going to put that right about there. So it's kind of in the center of my front. So I have a rosebud, I have a flower, and then I have these three little leaves that I cut out. So the first thing we're going to put in here is going to be our flower. And of course, we're just simply going to use some of our dimensionals. I'm using a dimensional for the center of the flower, and I'm going to use a couple of the mini dimensionals for the leaf edges right about there. And these mini dimensionals are just really fantastic. They basically fit anywhere. So the flower is going to be the first one we're going to put down, and I'm going to put it down right about here so that it's kind of in our teacup, but then it kind of goes off a little bit. Then I'm going to pick this rosebud, and the mini dimensionals are perfect for the rosebud. I'm going to put two little mini dimensionals there, and we're going to just slip this rosebud very neatly right here on this side there. Okay, then lastly, again, the mini dimensionals work really well on these little leaves. We're going to go just take a mini dimensional, and you can put them right in the middle of the leaf, and we're just going to add a little bit of leaf there, and then we're going to add another, oops, I'm going to add another leaf, maybe right there. You can kind of see how that's kind of building up nicely. And we're going to add another leaf, maybe right off here, off of our rosebuds. Oh, I don't really like that. Let me just pull that off. I think I'm just going to put this one right there. There. So there we have our leaves and our rosebuds. Kind of a nice kind of array there. And now we're going to put our Happy Mother's Day. And again, I'm just using Rocky. You're not going anywhere. You're going to sit right there because you had an upset stomach and you're not going anywhere. Okay, I just put some dimensionals on the back of that, and we're going to place this. I kind of like it right there. Happy Mother's Day. Okay, and then I have some pearls right here, and they come in several colors. I'm going to pick these pretty light pearls. This one here I think will go very nicely right there. And didn't want to get all those. I just want one pearl right here. And I think that's really all I need. Let's put those back. So there you go. Now we can simply stamp the inside of our card. Happy Mother's Day. Our love is one that covers through the years and sometimes through tears. A bond that stands the test of time. Mother and daughter, hearts intertwined. And I'm going to use this. Perfect. And there you go. Isn't that beautiful? A beautiful card using our lovely tea set, tea together set. For a wonderful Mother's Day card. Very simple, easy to make. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you haven't bought the Tea Together stamp set or the framelits, please do so before March 31st. That's when they'll no longer be available. Please like this video, send me a comment. I love your comments. This is Kat Chancellor, Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. Happy stamping.